it okay for Lyme patient, chronic Lyme patient, one of my friends, can I suggest your protocol? Because I haven't seen too many videos or too much information on your site, but it's also said that chronic Lyme patient have some autoimmune component to it. Is it okay for me to recommend this diet to that patient with a little bit of GI issues? Thank you.
Absolutely. So I think I saw you on Thursday too, right? Yeah, so absolutely. We have had great results working with people with Lyme because they do have very similar symptoms. One video by a woman named Becky that you can find on my YouTube, she had Sjogren's and Lyme and was able to reverse her symptoms. So, you know, we haven't seen people who have tested all the markers, and sometimes with chronic Lyme, you can't even find markers. But in terms of optimizing recovery, cellular function, immune function, then it's always going to be something that's helpful. And we have seen people get really, really significant symptomatic relief using hypernourishment for Lyme.
Joanna, would you like to ask a question, and where are you from?
Hi, yeah, I'm in Central Oregon. I had tried going all plant-based, and by 6 weeks in, I was like exhausted. I just needed meat, even though I was trying to take vitamin Bs and things like that. Can you speak to that? Because that's like a constant discussion in people like in social groups and Facebook about meat versus plant-based. Like, can you go without meat, and how do you do it?
I can definitely speak to that. So what I see often is that the conclusions people draw are incorrect and lead them astray, right? So if you had fatigue 6 weeks in, I can guarantee you it wasn't a meat deficiency, because there's actually nothing in meat that's biologically necessary for us, and actually it's detrimental for us. So there was some other cause, but you didn't know what it was. And so that got you where, you know, that was the conclusion that you drew. And that's not uncommon. I mean, I think the majority of what we do in my rapid recovery programs, I'm working with people every day, is help them not believe their own conclusions. You know, because
yeah, it was hard because I felt like as soon as I ate the meat, I felt better. So yeah, something was out of balance.
So I don't know what it was, but what I'm saying is it's not something that you needed meat to fix. I can't analyze it because I don't know what you were eating. And that's one of the downfalls, I think, is that there's so many different ways to eat a plant-based diet, and not all of them are equally healthy. You're not going to get the same benefit eating just like rice and beans as you are eating like salads and smoothies, right? There's just no chance that the nourishment is nowhere near the same. So it might have been really a nourishment issue versus the meat issue. And it also might have been transient. So sometimes people will go through these kind of like, I call it like shedding the layers of the onion of inflammation, where they might have like a little bit of time where they feel kind of under the weather or flu-like, which is coming right before the realizing of the energy that's after that. And they'll kind of cut themselves off. They'll abort like that. We call it detox, but that's a word that people have arguments about. Well, whatever it is, they cut off that process and they prevent themselves to getting to the other side. So when I'm working with someone, I can watch and see and go, your nutrition is great, keep going. All right, this is exactly right. This is going to pass. You're going to be fine, right? Or I could look and say, oh, this is what you're eating. Listen, you're actually low in your nourishment levels. Let's increase this, and that, and get you there. Like I said, even things like hydration can make a difference. So what I would just suggest is let's let go of the conclusion that it's a meat deficiency, because it's not that. I've helped people who have told me the same thing many, many times. And instead look at, let's get your nourishment levels optimized, like hypernourishment, and stick to the plant-based, and then see if that happens again. And if it is, then that would be a great time to check in. Like if we had an appointment and I spent 75 minutes with you going over everything you ate and everything going on in your life, I'd be able to pinpoint it. They won't let me do that here. But you know, there is something there, and we just need to identify what it is. But don't give up on the plant-based eating, because it really is optimal for your health.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think probably it was the latter, the sort of going more in the directions of the beans and rice type thing.
Yeah, I'll see that a lot, where someone, when they're eating meat, they do like meat and vegetables, but then they switch to plants and they go, okay, beans and rice. I'm like, where are the vegetables? Right. So, you know, sometimes that's it. But yeah, hopefully that helps you.
Okay, thanks so much.
Bridget, would you like to ask a question, and where are you from?
Yes, thank you. I'm from Saskatoon in Canada, and I'd like to ask a question for Dr. Goldner. I couple of years ago, I got an ANA of 1/160. Then a few months later, 1/80. And then COVID hit, and then my doctor went away. So I have a new doctor, and he says it's nothing to worry about because I'm not symptomatic. Is that correct?
Hold on. I just swallowed wrong. Why did you test it? Excuse me. What were you experiencing that made you test it?
I had pneumonia, and I had a high C-reactive protein, and I think my doctor just threw a bunch of tests in because she was worried about this C-reactive protein. So
yeah, and you know what happens is, I remember when I was doing my rheumatology rotations, they would get so angry when the doctor would test an ANA without cause because they didn't know what to do with it. So generally, rheumatologists do not consider an ANA to be positive until it's greater than 1/160, because there are people walking around a 1/80 and 1/160 that don't really have any kind of rheumatological symptoms or issues. So on the one hand, it went in the right direction, so that's cool, but it's not, I agree with your doctor that it's not really a number that you need to worry about. Rheumatological conditions are really diagnosed based off of a combination of the labs and the symptoms. And to me, the symptoms are more important as far as how their health is going than even the numbers are, because it doesn't always match up. But I would say if you feel otherwise healthy, I wouldn't worry about that number. I would still take great care of your health, knowing that you potentially could have an ANA progress. You still want to eat really well, but I wouldn't be concerned just with that number alone.
Carol, would you like to ask a question, and where are you from?
Hi, it's actually Craig Van Tynen. That's my wife had signed up, but I'm a psychiatrist, a doctor from Vermont, and I have some questions for Dr. Goldner, or a question. So basically, I've been on a plant-based diet probably 15 years since reading Colin Campbell's book back about 15 years ago, which I think is a great contribution to the field. Without a doubt, it fits right in with the Asia having increased autoimmune problems nowadays. But what I really wanted to get at is I had a small stroke probably, well, it's almost a year and a half ago. And it wasn't due to cardiovascular. The neurologist said that they looked great, but it's because I have AFib. I didn't like being on a blood thinner, and I kind of avoided it for a while, but then I got this small stroke. So I'm taking meds, even though I've been able to get off most different things. I wondered if you have any experience or knowledge of AFib regarding the hypernutrition and any responses that way, or any advice. And I have a slight question too with Dr. Greger, who I really appreciate, from nutritionfacts.org, has brought up that he feels that from the study he looked at in May 2019, that more than a tablespoon and a half of flaxseed has the risk of having more or a high exposure to arsenic. And I don't know if you had heard that at all. So I guess two questions.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Well, I'm glad that you overcame that stroke and you're doing okay. First of all, it's a scary thing to go through. Two, we have had people with AFib have really have reported that they have had improvements in their EKGs and overall health. Of course, it's great for the cardiovascular system to do hypernourishment. You do need to be careful, though, if you are taking warfarin or Coumadin, that you are checking your INR and making sure that your diet and your medicine are corresponding correctly, right? And if you're taking something else that's not diet, doesn't get affected by diet, that's okay. So hypernourishment is definitely a great thing to do for your cardiovascular health, in addition to taking your anticoagulants. And it's also really important. I mean, omega-3 fatty acids, they are an important part of your nervous system. They're the main component of the membranes that line the neuron cells, right? So, and it's an important part of recovery as well to add the omega-3s. Listen, I'm friends with Dr. Greger, and we've talked a lot about things. I actually did see the study he was talking about, but the conclusion of that study was, so what they did is they looked at people eating. They said there's a microscopic arsenic component, right, in flaxseed. So they said, how can we get that to even be significant? And what they found is people had to eat a half a cup of flax seeds plain with nothing else in their stomach, and they could get some measurement of a blood level of arsenic when they did that. And even those people had zero symptoms of toxicity. So that is not really, that's what I was saying, that, you know, studies are not about real life, really. So first of all, I don't know anyone who sits there and eats a cup of flax seeds on an empty stomach. Two, it still wasn't clinically significant because those people did not have any kind of signs or symptoms of toxicity. So I think that actually rather proved the safety of it rather than the opposite. The other thing I can tell you is after almost, like I said, 2 decades of giving people super high doses of omega-3s, primarily through things like flax seeds and chia seeds, we have never once had somebody have any kind of toxicity from it. And in fact, instead, we've just reversed all of these different diseases in thousands of people all over the world. So I would say that the evidence is actually really good, that the benefits from the omega-3s are outstanding, and that the risk of any kind of poisoning is mostly theoretical and not something that's actually happened in real life.
Lisa, would you like to ask a question, and where are you from?
Oh, hi. I'm from Edmonton. Dr. Goldner, I had a question for you. From your talk on Thursday, you mentioned somebody had corrected or reversed their glaucoma. So is glaucoma an autoimmune disease?
So we've actually had 2 people do rapid recovery for glaucoma that reversed it. One was a woman that had already lost sight in one eye, even after surgery that didn't work, and she was starting to lose the vision in the other eye. And during rapid recovery, she actually not only reversed the one that was starting to get sick, but she started being able to see light and dark in the other eye that had been completely blind, which was awesome. And then the one that I was mentioning there, a 77-year-old man who had glaucoma and on week 5 had a normal eye exam with no glaucoma. Now, just because something gets better in our protocol doesn't mean it's autoimmune. It means it's inflammatory, right? So remember, the protocol is not specific to disease. It's specific to cellular repair and optimal immune function. So we have found that people with many different eye diseases, uveitis, glaucoma, Graves' disease-induced eye problems. Even there was a disease I'd never heard of in medical school called birdshot uveitis. I've now helped 2 people reverse it. It is completely rare, but guess what? It responds to hypernourishment. So just because something responds doesn't mean that it's autoimmune. We've had people reverse heart disease in days, diabetes within 4 weeks, right? So it really is just optimizing cellular function, and that's going to be beneficial for everybody.